Da ba da ba da 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 ba da da ba da ba da 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 ba da ba ba. Hey everyone, it's Mike the Star Turtle, and today I'll be reviewing Freedom Fighters by IO Interactive, also known as the people who brought you the Hitman series and the Kane and Lynch games. Originally came out for the PC, Xbox, PS2, and GameCube back in 2003. This is it's interesting. It's like a kind of a squad-based action third-person shooter. I guess it's probably the best way to describe it, but it's not entirely squad-based. Basically, it's another similar plot to the last video game I reviewed, where Soviet Union invades the United States. Well, this time it's an alternate reality. Well, the other one was alternate reality anyway, but this time the Soviets actually managed to beat the Manhattan Project and drop the A-bomb on Berlin, ending World War II. So now I'll cut to present day, and like I said, they've pretty much taken over most of the world, and now they're taking over the U.S. Save the best for last. And it takes place in New York City, and you play as Christopher. I forget his last name, but it's just a generic last name anyway. This was called Christopher, but yeah, he's basically a generic, grizzled, dark-haired, white guy protagonist that almost every video game has these days. And he's not necessarily the best voice acted either. But he kind of gets involved with this freedom fighters resistance movement that had known this was going to happen and anticipated it. Led by Isabella Angelina. Cool to see a strong female character, but she doesn't really do much other than occasionally fight with you like twice and then give you mission briefings. That's pretty much all she does, and she's not the best voice acted either. But there are a number of other characters. Chris has a brother. There's this typical trash talking other white guy who's in the squad, who everyone calls Bags, and this youth kid who's constantly spray painting and talking in slang, and but he's cool. He always gives you tips on how to do this stuff. He's like the recon guy, but he has. This is not a game about a story, though. There are a number of characters, but ultimately it's about you and your character and your multiple different squad mates just basically killing lots of Russians. This is probably people who hate communism. This is probably a fun game to play. It's a nostalgic game, nostalgic by a little over 10 years. If you call that nostalgic, but it's one of the few older games I've played on the PC that still runs on Windows 7. I have no idea if it runs on Windows 8 or not, but it still runs on Windows 7, as do all the games, to my knowledge, with this particular engine. It's the same engine that IO Interactive used in their Hitman games, the first couple Hitman games. Or, sorry, not sure the first one, but like the Hitman 2, the first big one. And yeah, so basically you start out with like by yourself in the first mission. You gotta take it slow then, but then you not long before you get a couple of squad mates, and basically the more objectives you complete in this game, the more squad mates you can get. You can ultimately add up to 10 freedom fighters fighting alongside you at once who will follow you wherever you go, and you can issue a number of commands to them. But honestly, the command issue system for them is not really that good, at least on the PC. Maybe I'm missing something, but it wasn't like the eye though was pretty decent. Both the Russian soldiers and the and your squad mates. They're not amazing, but for the time it's pretty good. And also, you often fight with them in tight quarters. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And okay, be honest that you just clip right through them if that happens. So, but at least that prevents them from ever getting in your way in close quarters. There's no different weapons in the game. Ultimately, you mostly just use the assault rifle and occasionally the shotgun. The shotgun is really only useful in tight quarters, but the thing is you'll go in and out of tight quarters so quickly a lot of the time that it's not usually worth it. So you'll just stick with the basic assault rifle. Gameplay wise, okay. Gameplay wise, the shooting mechanics they could be better. I mean, it's dated, so I give it credit, but they could have been smoother. The hit detection, even for the assault rifle, is not that good, and especially even in the lower difficulties, it takes way too long just to take down a normal soldier. Like it shouldn't take more than a few hits to take down a Russian soldier. And sniping, there are a couple of sequences where you can use a sniper rifle in the game, and the hit detection is no better on that. Unless you, sometimes it's easy, but sometimes the hit detection wasn't that good. The only time you really know for sure you're hitting them is in close quarters. But the good news is that's why you have all the squad mates to make up a lot of the work for it. That's the best part about this game. Fighting alongside your squad mates and like some surprisingly large scale battles for the time. Like at least as far as modern day goes. Like Call of Duty was released around the same time. It probably did the shooting mechanics better. But this is still a fun little game. And probably one of the first games in the new modern era to have this type of plot of the Soviet invasion of U.S. We never actually fight alongside the regular army. That's one thing. Like we never is the regular army bought off by the Russians or something like that, or what? We never really they were defeated pretty easily. They never really go into that. But yeah, I'm saying them a lot again. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, there's a couple different villains in the game. Neither of which you actually really fight. Well, sort of. I won't go into it. But there's this KGB colonel who doesn't show up that much. He's probably the best villain, but he doesn't show up that much. But he's voiced by the same guy who played Premier Romanov, I believe, in Command & Conquer: Red Alert 2, if you remember him. He's pretty good in that role. He's probably the best voice actor in the whole game. My only complaint is we don't really get to hear him enough in this game, and you never actually fight his character, unfortunately. The music in this game is just probably one of the best things about this game. The music is amazing. It's a combination of orchestral and synthetic, done right. And I forget who did it. I'm not sure if the same people who did the Hitman games or not. I know they had good music too, so it probably is, working with IO Interactive and all that stuff. But the music is really good. It really helps set the atmosphere. I like the fact that almost every mission there are multiple different ways to complete objectives. Like pretty much every mission there's a number of different neighborhoods you have to switch between. Like completing a few objectives. I mean, one neighborhood could actually make the other objectives in another neighborhood easier. Like, for example, there's several missions where you have to face attack helicopters. And if you go and blow up the helicopter refueling station in another neighborhood, then you'll prevent them from constantly being on your ass. So that's a cool thing. And for example, there's troop APCs moving throughout the city. You can blow up key bridges to stop their advancing, and so they won't. Otherwise, they'll just keep spawning more troops. But even regular objectives in an individual map, though, sometimes have multiple different ways. Once you get a whole bunch of squad mates, you can always just blow right through it, the full frontal attack. But especially on the easier difficulties. But there's almost always a way around. So that's really cool. Really, really cool level design. Which is another aspect of the Hitman games. All different stuff you can do in those levels. So unfortunately, yeah, they kind of it gets a decent ending, but there's still a lot of stuff they could have wrapped up, and they were gonna make a sequel to it, but in the end, I guess the game never really got big enough for them to get a sequel. But it's still worth playing. If you're looking for a slightly nostalgic game, especially on the PC, if you want a game that'll still run on Windows 7, that's over 10 years old. This is one of the few games I've seen, that and the Hitman games, maybe because of the engine they use. But none of the other games I played so far still run for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a dated game. It's got but it makes up the graphics. It makes up for a cartoonish look, so you can forgive the you can forgive that to that extent. But all the human characters, they all have a very cartoonish appearance to them, so you forgive the lower textures on their design. But like I said, it's a fun game. Pretty short. If you really want to, you can complete the whole thing in a day. Not quite as short as like Call of Duty campaign, these days, but still pretty short, especially if you played it before. Though on the hard difficulties, probably taking a lot longer. It's got some problems, but if you're looking for, like I said, looking for a nostalgic action game, they'll still run on Windows 7. Or if you have any of the other older consoles that and want to play older games for the hell of it, this you can do worse than this, a lot worse. So, Freedom Fighters, give it a try.